Good afternoon. My name is Alena Shautsova. I'm an immigration attorney from Brooklyn, New York. In today's live video, I would like to provide you some updates regarding immigration news, national news, and local news. So for national news, you're probably aware that President Trump just signed into order memorandum regarding census. And what's happening with that memorandum is that basically it says that well, it's called illegal aliens should be not included in counting people for the purposes of asserting the size of states when representatives are being assigned. Because in the United States, what happens is that the number of people residing in the states determines how many representatives they're going to have in the government. So Trump said that illegal aliens will not be counted towards those numbers. But basically what this said is that those people who do not have lawful immigrant status in the United States, who are not lawful immigrants, they will not be counted. And the memorandum cites Immigration and Nationality Act. And if you look into that act, you basically will not find definition of who are these illegal aliens are, who are these people with no status. So the definition is provided by USCIS policy. And according to the policy, lawful immigrant status, people in lawful immigration status in the United States are, of course, green card holders, including those green card holders who have conditional green cards, non-immigrants, people who have valid non-immigrant status in the United States, refugees, asylees, parolees, people who were paroled into the United States, and TPS holders. But let's say people who are waiting for their status, those who have just adjustment of status pending, or just asylum pending, or change of status pending, they are not in lawful immigrant status in the United States. So those people will be disregarded according to the memorandum from being counted towards the amount of people living in the States. And the problem is, of course, many of those people will become, especially if they're in the process, they will become green card holders. It's just a matter of time, pretty much. Also, what's happening is that people with no status are not being counted. And according to, I believe, Immigration Council, in certain states, the number of people is significant. 6%, I believe, for the California. New York has, if I'm not mistaken, over 20 million people who are immigrants. So we're talking big numbers here that all of a sudden are not going to be counted. And as some state, of course, it's done to hurt Democrats, okay? Because people, immigrants mostly like to settle in predominantly Democratic states. So these are the news. We do not see yet, or haven't seen yet, promised order regarding DACA and path to citizenship. So that is still not being revealed to the public. So far, all we have from Trump is that census order. For the local news, just received updates from USCIS office in New York, where they stated that, number one, naturalization is their priority. They are trying to reschedule all the canceled naturalization ceremonies within 90 days. And their goal is by beginning of August to process everybody whose appointments were canceled due to pandemic. Also, they're administrating virtual naturalization ceremonies for those who have name changed. So that's the good news. They also said that New York is not going to shut down. even if there are furloughs, even if USCIS is left without the budget, New York is still going to operate, and they will try to process as many cases as possible. They are operating within a very small capacity right now, only 25% capacity, but they are operating. So that's good news. So this is the news that we have right now. Basically, now there is a lot of speculation as to what Trump's next order is going to be. You also need to know about a big lawsuit that's that was filed regarding Trump's travel bans, all these proclamations together. So hopefully, if there is a TRO, the legal immigration is going to be able to resume. And of course, about the DACA, people keep asking me, DACA was won, and do we have DACA new applications being filed? Yes, the United States Supreme Court stated that DACA must be restored. But guess what? USCIS responded that the highest court's opinion has no basis in law, and they're not accepting new applications. At least as of yesterday, they didn't. And of course, if you do not obey court's order, there will be sanctions. So we're going to see what's going to happen. In my mind, what has to happen is that USCIS must restore DACA, allow new applications, allow renewals, restore advance parole, basically restore DACA in full capacity as it was before all these lawsuits. So that's where we stand with DACA right now. I just know that my colleagues tried to file new applications and they were rejected. The fees were returned, the whole package was returned. So that's the news for today. Now, please, guys, thank you for joining me today. If you have some questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Let me see. Hi, Hasib. Hi, Shafiq. I know Shafiq always watches all my videos. Very nice to see you. Hi, please, we need to renew expired visa category IR1, immediate relative. What we should do, we're in Egypt. I sent too many emails to the embassy. There is nothing you can do without the embassy's involvement. As soon as the embassy is going to resume its full operations, they will give you further instructions. But basically, what they stated they're going to be doing is that they will be reissuing those visas, stickers, as long as your documents did not expire. If the documents expired, like police clearances, for example, medical exam, then you will need to renew those documents, provide them new documents before they will be able to issue new visas. That's unfortunately the only information we have for now. Basically, I have another video where the Department of State said that the consulates are going to start reopening, but they didn't say which consulates, when they're going to be start reopening. So for each particular consulate, you have to contact that particular consulate and find out what is it that they're doing, okay? Because most of them are still processing only emergency requests by United States citizens, even though some, I've heard some, do process immigrant visas. I believe one in Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken, they were they did process interviews recently. So that's where we stand with consulates. In general, the rest of the businesses as usual. New work started to rescheduling asylum interviews. USCIS in New York, as I said, rescheduling naturalization. So this is their priority. Let me see if you guys have more questions. My wife I-130 was approved. Case is an NVC. What should I expect? I'm a green card holder. You can and you should proceed with submitting documents to the NVC if it's possible for you to do that. But what's happening with the green card holders' spouses, they're not allowed to come to the United States right now. So if the lawsuit, as I mentioned, the lawsuit will be successful, that ban will be lifted before the end of the year. If not, it will take a little bit longer for your wife to come to the United States. But for now, if the case is an NVC, your wife has to submit Form DS-260, and you guys, whatever steps you can accomplish, complete, steps closer to the interview, you need to do that. Do you know if ASC started to send out biometric appointments? They started sending out biometric appointments. I know that they reopened 2 days ago. At least they were scheduled to reopen 2 days ago on July 20th. So my feeling will be that very shortly your biometric appointment should be rescheduled. Are they interviewing for passport or oath? If there are interviews for naturalization, yes. I know that at least one person who contacted my office stated that his interview was rescheduled already. But again, they're interviewing at a very small pace, right? Because they don't have enough people and they have to also follow social distancing rules. So they cannot invite as many people as they want to. Hi, Tony. Good afternoon. I processed already my removal green card and I received already extension for 18 months. My question is, can I travel without my green card for 10 years? Absolutely. When you have a letter extending your status for 18 months, you can travel with that. What I suggest you do, if your card expired by now, that you also get edit stamp, right? Edit stamp, you get that via InfoPass USCIS emergency InfoPass appointment. Should I take another biometric again for removal? If they will be calling you for biometric appointments for removal, they will going to send you a notice. If your ability to travel should not be impacted by their delays in fingerprinting you, okay? At the beginning of coronavirus situation, they were sending notices that they will be reusing the fingerprints. At least that's what happened for my clients who filed for removal of the conditions. They did not have to appear for the new biometric appointments. What do I need to do to remove or adjust my status? Well, that's a very big question. It depends on your eligibility. Oh, I'm currently on a 2 years conditional green status. So you will have to file for removal of the condition. It's petition I-751. Depending on your situation, you're either going to be filing together with your spouse, which is called joint filing, or you will be filing by yourself if, for example, the marriage was a real marriage, but it ended in divorce, or your spouse was abusive, those were other circumstances, and you have to file with a filing fee, $680, and attach relevant documents. So again, it's petition I-751. You can find it on USCIS website. How many chances is there for an asylum case right now? It depends on the case. It depends on if you filed the case within the 1 year deadline, what your grounds for the case, what evidence you can attach, right? What is your testimony? Are there any other issues with your eligibility for asylum? So that's a very big question. Basically, you can read on our website. We have a lot of information about asylum, different grounds, what you need to prove to win your asylum case depending on your situation. Hi, I was approved. It's a domestic violence case. I was told that I'm waiting for an interview. Do you know how long more I have to wait? I've been waiting 10 months already. I really do not know. It depends. Sometimes, especially nowadays, you may have to wait for a very long time because of the pandemic and because naturalizations are the priority, not adjustments interviews. So unfortunately, we'll not be able to give you any specific timeline here. If a dependent has been added to an asylum case, however waiting for biometric notice, can you request work permit for that dependent? Usually you should be able, right? You should be able to do that, but you know, it really depends, because what I've noticed right now is that it's very difficult to get the government to give work permits for in connection with asylum cases. I do not know why it's happening, but I've seen very strange situations where they're trying to not to add your dependent into the case. They're basically saying that they're not eligible for the work permit and things like that. So yes, you should be able to, but it may be a struggle, just so you know. Before, like 3-4 years ago, it shouldn't be a problem at all, okay? But now it can be a problem. My browser file, I'm in the process of submitting documents to NYC. Could I adjust my status here? Have you been maintaining lawful non-immigrant status in the United States? If yes, and if you're still in status, then you can adjust. If no, then probably not. I suggest that you consult with an attorney about that. All right, because this is really just, I provide quick answers to quick questions, but I cannot consult anyone in this format. But generally speaking, for somebody to adjust based on the preference category, they have to maintain lawful non-immigrant status during their stay in the United States. Of course, they have to show legal admission and that they're not otherwise inadmissible. Sometimes there are exceptions to this rule, like 245I exception, grandfathering clause. If you qualify for that, you may be able to adjust, even if you didn't have lawful non-immigrant status or entered the country without inspection, but usually not. Can follow to join asylee travel to his home country and marry a girl there? Can follow to join asylee travel to his home country? Are you a son of the somebody who received asylum status? Is that what the situation is? Generally speaking, family members of asylum seekers and asylees, generally speaking, right? If they travel to their home country, the government may challenge the main person asylum, saying that, listen, if your family members go whatever to the home country whenever they want, maybe it's safe for you too, right? But it's not a hard and stone rule. But generally speaking, anybody who received asylum should not be returning to the country of persecution, including family members. How long is it taking to receive fingerprints for citizenship? I really do not know this time. I know that USCIS office in New York stated their goal is to reschedule everybody within 90 days. But that's what I can tell you about New York. All right, guys, so let me see if we have more questions. All right, so this is the all updates for today. You know, basically, if you're looking for specific timelines for rescheduling of your appointments and fingerprint appointments, nobody has them. We do not know how exactly they choose the cases to reschedule. I do know that naturalizations are priority, so expect delays for adjustment cases and all other cases. Work on your documents if you received RFEs, request for more evidence. Try not to use additional time, additional 60 days. The faster you answer RFE, the better your chances to get faster replies back. I have received some approvals for the pending cases. So the government is working, but of course they work much slower just because they don't have enough people. And my biggest, I think, concern is Vermont Service Center. Whatever is sent there, I have to wait for a very long time to get feedback. And the rest of it is basically stands as we have it. I hope I answered some of your questions today. Thank you very much for joining me. I wish you all to be in good health, and please share, like, and I hope to see you soon.